So on the lowest floor of the basement is guilt and shame. And on a level of consciousness, even on a kinesiology level, scientifically, like guilt, shame is like the highest level of self rejection. It is the most blocked energy there can be. So on the lowest level, when someone enters my program and on their flip it list, like they identify their top three things they know they don't want. And it's very tied to like these feelings of self criticism and self rejection and self hate and guilt and shame over the past. They're very much living in the past. They are in the lowest floor on their house of manifesting. And it's a very numbing, very depressed like place to be because you're in like literally like you're in down in the dirt, right? You're really cutting yourself off from seeing the light like of the sun. And when you're down there, everyone's whether you're guilty about what you ate last night for dinner or you're feeling guilty for how off track you might feel in your life, like all of these things are feelings. Off track is a feeling.
Hi, I'm Lauren Parsons.
And I'm Andy Jackson, and this is the All Well Co podcast.
Dive deep with us as leading experts share their unique perspectives on topics such as recovery, sleep, movement, and the latest innovations in the space.
Well, welcome to the All Well Co podcast, Laura. It's a pleasure to have you. Heard a lot about you from your husband, Scott. And before we dive into your journey, let's kind of set the stage. Now, how did you meet us? What drew you to the All Well Co community?
Well, first of all, I'm like in it. I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I just appreciate everything that has to do with wellness and lifestyle and living a better life. I also am always impressed when entrepreneurs follow dreams and make things happen and, just the entire journey. So I love meeting up with like minds and I say yes when I feel alignment. And, I automatically felt that alignment.
So for those of you who are just listening, Laura just lifted her foot up and showed her Vivo Barefoot shoes. So great. Okay, let's dive in a bit. So you coach celebrities, high performers on mastering their minds. That's your key focus. But from your point of view, what was the earliest moment in your own life where you realized that your mindset could either build or break you?
I coach the masses. I definitely am found sometimes by celebrities, athletes, top companies, but I'm here, I know, for a great cause, which is to teach people how the mindset, how your thoughts really impact your everyday. My earliest thoughts, I feel like there's always a lot of contributing factors that lead you to where you are, today, all of us. But it started when I was 5, 6 years old. There was like a lot of death in my family, quite honestly. Like my uncle died tragically, my grandpa died tragically, like quick. And then my mom got sick with cancer and was given 2 years to live, like all in my like kindergarten, first
Oh, I'm
grade.
sorry to hear that.
And, she's alive today. So I saw the power of positive mindset, like amidst that fear of like death and life and negative and positive. She's alive. She's in my house right now. She's enjoying her 8 grandkids. And she did not believe what the doctors told her when they gave her 2 years. And a priest walked into her room because he was giving the last rites to, a person in the room next to her and was just like, you know, that doctor really can't tell you like when is your last day. And she came home. She signed herself out of the hospital, came home and really had a very strong will to survive. I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and I have just like those are some of my earliest memories of seeing the power of positive mindset in persevering when the naysayers or negativity is right in front of your face. And you've got to see past that current moment. And, again, she's alive today, but she also, like, it's not that she self healed herself. She just left that hospital, found a different protocol that aligned to her and stepped into a path that led to her survival. So there's just a lot to it, but that's one of my earliest memories.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Was there ever a point where you didn't believe in what you now teach? And if there was, what changed that?
Well, I love that you're asking this right now. Here in California, it just turned 11. Just like, of course, was there ever a moment that you don't trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust that there's something greater outside of yourself or inside your own heart? Absolutely. I think we've all been there in different ways and times in our lives. I feel like the most compromised time for me personally were challenges in my own teenage years. You're really going through a time in your life where like you're trying to decide who you are, I would say that like I felt like I was always very intuitive, very aware, very conscious of like happiness and how I brought basically like a bright light around and like when I entered rooms or even inside my own family. But that would be a time where I would say that I like squelched my own inner light. And, then was at a time in those teenage years where I would look outside of myself for the answers instead of inside of myself. And I really do feel like I turned off a light switch and, had some tough like relationship struggles. I was like dating my first like boyfriends and like I look back on that version of me being like, wow, like I tolerated like a lot more than the current Laura, who's almost 50 years old, would ever tolerate. And so, yeah, I would say, that would probably be that 14 to 19-year-old like age bracket for myself personally that
Yeah.
struggled in that
I think
perspective.
we all probably did in those ages, or at least in one way or another, right? You're just trying to figure out who you are maybe, and your norms are challenged a little bit, and yeah. So, getting into it a little bit further, you've said that stuck is just a feeling. So, let's dive really deep into that. So, when was the last time you felt stuck? What does that mean? And then what do you do in that moment?
Sure. I love to teach how to get unstuck. I know that's why I am here. I'm here to not just feel it on a spiritual or very like, high level or just a scientific level. I'm here to bring that feeling of stuck and unstuck to a very practical level because everyone has felt that throughout their day, even or about their life in different ways in different realms. And so, stuck by my definition inside our company, which is Strong Confident Living, is the inability to see past the current moment. I'll say it again just for like just to hone in it. It's just, stuck is your inability, like you cannot see past your current circumstances, your current moment. It feels like there's a wall in front of you or inside your brain or heart. So sometimes stuck is internal. It's your own self-doubts, it's internal blocks, you're not believing in yourself. Sometimes you see it external, like it's my spouse, it's my boss, it's my roommate, it's my partner, it's my bank account, it's the world, it's, what's going on in the world. So a lot of times stuck is either seen internally or externally. It's all coming from the internal, even if you see it external. But I can help people boil it down to it's just a feeling. So I really teach people then how to minimize stuck, knowing it's just a feeling, because once you're stuck in that stuck perception, which is just, I can't see past Laura, then I teach people the strategies to understand, well, first of all, what are you feeling stuck in? What do you feel is blocking you right now? And identify it with awareness because then you're bringing light to that. You're turning on the light of awareness. And wherever there's light, you're bringing love into that moment, which expands your ability to see and see more broadly because love expands your vision. So, like, I just have a very simple blueprint and framework for people to follow. Like, step one, what am I stuck in? And it's really interesting because that's when people usually find me. It's not just like, let's go make my dreams happen. I want to manifest like my dream life. Usually people find me, and like, I know people are ready for my content when they're like, I am sick and tired of not breaking through financially or not breaking through in my career or my relationship. So they know what they're stuck in. And, so to like just start making your dream life, you're not going to see your full dream life because in that moment you're stuck behind your wall and you're going to feel like this keeps happening. And honestly, the more smart and often even self-aware people are about their blocks, the more frustrating they become because then you're even participating in it. You're participating in that energy. So stuck is the first step in understanding, like, I feel it, I'm recognizing this is my block. Is it internal? Is it external? And then I teach people a series of tools on how to get unstuck and, release their blocks, strengthen them.
So Laura, let's take that into something that's quite prevalent at the moment. There's a lot of people out there talking about how young men are stuck. They're stuck in the basement. They're stuck playing video games. They can't get a date. They can't socialize, etc. So let's just say I'm one of those young men. I'm 28, 30 years old. I spend too much time on my own. I'm successful. I've got a great job. I'm doing really well for myself, etc. But I just can't seem to get into that situation where I get ghosted all the time on the dating apps. You know, you hear this over and over and over again. What do I do? What's my first step? Take me through the steps that you would do to, obviously, I'm not 28 years old. I know you can just about tell.
I mean, I was working with 20-year-olds from Pepperdine University last night, and it like, I hear what people are stuck in, and it's the situation that's reflective of the feeling. So, if they're stuck in self-doubt, for example, that
Yeah.
might be reflected in so stuck no matter what is connected to a feeling. And now how that feeling is manifesting could be a variety of different ways. So I'll just give an example. If they're stuck in self-doubt, they're always going to feel like not sure of themselves, less than, seeking evidence, or even saying, like, look, like all the people on this app, and like, no one's liking me, or I don't know which way to go, or paralyzed and indecision, feeling a lot of lack, like in alignment to a lot of lack. And that's reflected of insecurity or lack then in themselves. So if it's just self-doubt, self-doubt is the opposite of confidence. Confidence would be like, I don't need to know. I can walk in a room, I can go here, like, I know I can get a date. Like there's it's the opposite, right? And a lot of people right now are stuck in self-doubt. And that's why I'm bringing that one like to light, because self-doubt, how you could be stuck in that emotion can reflect itself in a variety of ways that are constantly giving you evidence of like, see, this is why I can't take that step, or like, see, this is the evidence in front of me. So step one, I teach people, like one of my signature tools is called the flip it list. And I've like painted this painting, and I've just always am teaching people how to flip it from negative to positive, where you first identify, like you can literally take out a piece of paper, you can fold it in half and flip it on top. And on the left side, like put a 1, a 2, and a 3, and identify the top 3 things that are keeping you stuck. Like, I'm always rejected, or I don't feel like, I'll ever blah, blah, blah. So whatever thoughts, situations, or feelings you keep feeling perpetuate over and over again, those icky do-overs, identify the top 3 things on a flip it list. And so the left side of your flip it list, and again, I'm really known for practical tools, and it's the first step of getting unstuck. What do you know you don't want? That's usually very clear for people. Like they might be like, I think I want to be healthier. I think I want, a girlfriend, or I think I want this, more money, but that's so vague. So usually if that's too vague for people, and it's not like, it's not specific enough in the world of manifesting. You're not going to suddenly get on a path to feel confident that you're on a trajectory for that. So the flip it list helps people with a black and white, like piece of paper in front of them, super practically identify these top 3 things that they're really clear in what they do not want anymore. Once you have those 3 things, you draw a line through the middle of the page, and on the right side of your flip it, you can identify, this is what I clearly desire. So on the left side is what you don't want, what the revolving door of what's keeping you stuck. And on the right side, you start to see, this is what I clearly desire. It is the opposite. So if you keep getting into toxic relationships and you're like, I know I don't want toxic relationships, I'd rather just sit here in the basement, like on my video game, because I don't want toxicity like in my life. Right. And that's what I keep getting. Well, then on the right side, it's like, I clearly desire to attract more positive people and relationships. And you start to create this blueprint. So you become the identity of the version of you that attracts the things that you want versus fights against the things you don't want. And I've really noticed, whether I'm coaching, like I just did this speech at Google where I taught like Google, New York City, this flip it tool, it's like the first step of understanding how to get unstuck is like, you have to flip your perspective, and you got to stop fighting against the old you, because that is the version of you that keeps attracting similar situations over and over.
So, Laura, what's the biggest misconception then about mindset, even in successful people, that people have?
The biggest misconception that I've seen, even in very high achievers, is limited paths to get to the destination of your desires. Most people are not thinking big enough. They are thinking like A or B, like path, when I'm like, there's C, D, E, F, G. And what if even what you're thinking is actually your limit? when I first started coaching my niece, Olivia Dunne, who became the number one female paid athlete, like she was thinking she wanted the Olympics. I was like, well, why do you want the Olympics? And I started coaching other elite athletes and elite athlete kids, and they like had all these ideas. And I'm like, that's one path to get to the fame, the money, like your face on a cereal box, like whatever it is that you want. Like, what if that's actually limiting you? Like, what if you're Livvy Dunne a brand? Like, what if you are actually, getting to the Olympics and you hurt your ankle? Now you're putting all of that self worth and all of your dreams in this basket that like is outside of your control. What if you're not chosen for the Olympic team? And all these things. So I really teach people, to stop like not only like have infinite paths to your dreams and to stop limiting like the paths that you see, because very high achievers often are like, this is how it's going to happen, right? This is what I see and this is how it's going to happen. And the moment the curveball happens, they don't think that's for them. They're like, this is not what I, had intended. Therefore, I must be doing it wrong. And either they get angry at other people or they get angry at themselves. They quit on themselves. And I'm just like, stop thinking so small. That divot in your path, that hiccup, that curveball is somehow meant for you if you can really lock into what you visualize and desire the outcome to be and know that there's so many paths to get there. So to really not limit yourself. I do find that a lot of people very much limit theirs.
That's such great advice. I think what was it? Something crazy like NFL athletes, about 50% of them go bankrupt within 5 years of leaving the NFL. It's something
Mhm.
it's a majority. It's crazy. So, okay, let's you mentioned about manifesting. You built something called the House of Manifesting. So let's dive into it. So if I were walking through its front door, what would I see in each room? What are the foundations, daily rituals, non-negotiables? Tell me all about this.
Sure. The House of Manifesting is just one, again, of my signature tools, similar to the Flip It list. I have a Snack on Happy tool, a House of Manifesting tool. I'm known like for building very practical tools. I built the House of Manifesting tool, quite honestly, because I was working with a lot of high achievers and I was working with like, engineers and different people that really needed to see emotions made logical. Practical. So you could stop overthinking, stop ruminating over the same old stuff, and stop controlling the pieces. So I built the House of Manifesting in a way to be 6 layers, where you walk into your house and you're already on the top 3 layers that, as if it's a 3-story house that you can
Mhm.
see. That happiness, the next floor up is confidence, and the highest floor is trust. So I really ultimately teach people how to be happier, how to be more confident, and how to trust in themselves and trust in the unfolding. So those are the top 3 floors. And the basement levels, which is funny earlier when you were mentioned like stuck in the basement, I was just like, we say that a lot in our community because in the bottom 3 floors are like where you're cutting yourself off from the energy of expansion, energy of, happiness, love, like you're going down into self rejection. So on the lowest floor of the basement is guilt and shame. And on a level of consciousness, even on a kinesiology level, scientifically, like guilt, shame is like the highest level of self rejection. It is the most blocked energy there can be. So on the lowest level, when someone enters my program and on their flip it list, like they identify their top 3 things they know they don't want, and it's very tied to like these feelings of self criticism and self rejection and self hate and guilt and shame over the past. They're very much living in the past. They are in the lowest floor on their House of Manifesting. And it's a very numbing, very depressed like place to be because you're in like literally like you're down in the dirt, right? You're really cutting yourself off from seeing the light like of the sun. And when you're down there, everyone's, whether you're guilty about what you ate last night for dinner or you're feeling guilty for how off track you might feel in your life, like all of these things are feelings. Off track is a feeling, self-hate like is a feeling, and then it becomes a set of thoughts and it becomes a set of actions, and then we practice that. So the House of Manifesting is interesting because I teach people how to get out of each floor. So guilt and shame's on the lowest floor. Then the next floor up, like as we rise up a little, is doubt. Now, doubt, again, is what I talked about earlier. It's where a lot of people feel stuck in that plateauy energy, not sure, like can't decide, always in lack, like totally not feeling abundant, and, always seeking evidence outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel better. That's doubt. And a lot of times when, like I said, when people find me, they know they like need some answers, but they're continuously seeking, not inside themselves. They're not trusting in themselves. They're not confident in themselves. So the floor of doubt, like I have tools for each of these different floors and how to get out of those floors. Then one floor up is anger. And anger is right under, like from a consciousness level, even how anger flows through our body, like at a cellular level. And science has proven all this. Like it's very close to courage. When you feel anger, you are seeing things in your life that are intolerable. Like what you could tolerate today, like is something you can't take anymore and you could tolerate it yesterday. It's that whoosh that we all feel, that rise of motivation because what you're seeing outside of you or what you keep like hitting on is no longer in alignment with where you want to be going. And naturally so our bodies get angry, right? So a lot of times people move from anger and they feel motivation from anger. But what I've learned as a mindset coach is if you take action from any of those three emotions, like guilt, doubt, anger, you pretty much are in alignment because you're probably fighting those situations or you're fighting the version of you that keeps attracting those situations. You are actually still co-creating on that floor of the house of manifesting. So if you take action from lack, which is doubt, you're going to likely end up in more lack. If you take action from guilt and shame and trying to get out of it and self-hating, and you're like, so you're even trying to do 10 more things or 20 more things to make up for that feeling of rejection, it actually is adding more fuel to that fire. So what I teach people are other practical tools of how do you give yourself that elevator pass. So there's an elevator that's just for you in the house of manifesting and you can step into it and you can rise into, between anger and happiness floors, like when it gets into the floors that you can see the light, there's a line of courage. And it's the same line of courage that I teach in the flip it list, where you draw that line and you are ready to step into positive from negative. And, one step in a happiness, confident, trusting direction supersedes 1,000 steps that people make to get out of the negative. And so if you could flip your mindset, which is really requires a shift in your thinking, you shift your emotional power and what you're giving it to, then you take action. Your life can change in less than one day. And I leave people like even in 1 hour workshops, mind blown because you can see where you have consistently taken action to avoid the negative, fix the negative, like get out of the negative and like still get stuck in the negative. And between the flip it list and the house of manifesting, you suddenly see tools right in front of you in black and white that you're even drawing. And you could see where you're stuck and you could see like, what? Oh, that's why I keep getting that same result. And so it's a lot of awareness that like I can teach to a 10-year-old or a Google executive, a elite athlete. It's a homeless person. I mean, it's the same exact tools I've built originally for kids.
Yeah. So when someone tries to flip a negative thought, how do you make sure it's just not toxic positivity? Right?
Yeah. Because you're not sugarcoating it. So, when people try to just sugarcoat a positive with negative, the toughest part of the work in terms of mindset, that's why I said you don't want to just come to me and like, let's just go make my dreams because I hate my life.
Mhm.
Because I want to fix my life, because I want to undo this thing. And that's why these first two tools are imperative. Because if you don't make a flip it list of like first what you're sick and tired and what you don't want, you are going to be taking action in that more like what is called today that toxic positivity, which is like, I don't like all of this, but I don't want to look at it. So let me shove that in the closet and avoid it. And let me just go work over here. And avoidance magnifies fear. It will come back with a vengeance and it will self sabotage. So I am really real with people and very practical in that, like, we don't do that at Strong Confident Living. It takes courage, which is why, courage is inside all of my tools because courage is the energy scientifically that flips you out of your brain and into your heart. out of negative and into positive. Courage on a kinesiology level, again, like in the muscle test in your body, flips people out of fear and into love. So I know, like, I build all of my tools in the energy of courage, knowing that when people find me, they are ready to really face their fears, their doubts, what's blocking them, and look at them head on so they can transmute them into something positive and not sugarcoat them. So that's why, the flip it list and all that is so powerful. The House of Manifesting tool, so powerful because you got to see where you're stuck in order to truly get unstuck and not try to like just put icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Push it away because pushing it away and pretending as if it's not going on is not effective. It will literally come back and self sabotage you.
Okay. Okay. So that makes sense. So the difference between pretending you're fine and genuinely shifting states is facing it head on and having courage to go through it,
Yeah.
essentially? Okay.
Courage, again, will transmute it because if you can be like, I don't like this, this sucks, like, this is real. I don't like the way, this person's talking to me. This is compromising my ability to hold happiness. This is challenging my ability to hold confidence. This thing, so it's like really looking at it in a way that you're taking like radical ownership of like, instead of like, he's making me feel or she's making me feel or this whole situation's making me, and I need them to change their behavior so I can be happy. Right? Like instead of this feeling where you're giving away your emotional keys to your power, you're taking the keys back. You're driving. No one's driving your life but you. That tank is full of like your own thoughts and beliefs and what's driving you forward. But it's empowering to look at your stuff in the energy of courage because it's really then I'm attracting people who are truly ready for change, truly, truly, genuinely ready to change it.
That's great. Yeah, that seems practical and you can wrap your head around something like that.
Yeah,
You mentioned you work with Livvy Dunne, your niece. You work with other A-list clients. Could you explain more, perhaps, maybe what pattern that you see that separates those who grow exponentially from those who just stay in the same loop?
sure. I mean, first of all, I'm a celebrity mindset coach, but the word celebrate and celebrity means to honor yourself. And, I treat everybody the same. And I think that's why I attract. I mean, I just had a dream life dinner here in California the other day, and like I had celebrities show up, and it's just like I didn't eat. And I'm not like, come to this table like because I want people to see like so and so and so and so. That is not who I am. I actually believe I attract more of it because I treat everybody the same. And I think that's attractive to the kinds of celebrities that are really like valuing what's real, and what they're looking for. What I do see of what separates like those people out like or high achievers in any realm is like a great desire for the like level of what I consider like ultra mega success. I feel like there's success coaches and life coaches and different things and different people that will always like be really good at setting goals and achievements and how to get from A to B, A to B, A to B. That's great, but that doesn't fascinate me. I've always lived in a realm of like pushing no boundaries, no limits, no labels. Like, how do I help people achieve ultra mega success? Whether that's a company that goes unicorn, I've helped companies make billions of dollars, whether it's someone who wants millions of fans, like, what millions of dollars, like, it's just like all different things from money to different things that could be quantified. But at the end of the day, like, what's so interesting is that no matter what, like, even when people put the weight on the big things, I've worked with enough athletes, celebs, like people who have everything to know at the end of the day, they still want to like have a nice dinner with their spouse, like recognize the sunset, play with their dog, like love their grandkids and things that are the small things. So what I teach people to get to like ultra mega success is a mix of the very big things that like they're very interested in pushing like the boundaries of because they're really interested in that potential, as well as the little things that like are that deserve actually heavier weight. Because, we even see like I saw on the Twitter, like from in this past year of like Scotty Scheffler and stuff, like when he's winning the golf games and being like, at the end of the day, like, then what? Like I got another, like I won another golf match and then what? I'm still going home to be with my son and da 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 da. Da. And like, so sometimes people feel like, what's the point? And I'm like, both are the point. There's in my leadership content, there's a really fine line between identifying like how I teach people a winning vision, which is like the achievements and accomplishments, the actual things that are the physical things that are around you in this physical world, right, that you want to accomplish, as well as fulfillment and satisfaction in who you're becoming on the ride to get to those things. When you get there, like all the versions of you that, are the fruits of your labor in getting to that big achievement or accomplishment. So I think there's the important balance of achievement and accomplishment and satisfaction and fulfillment that I've really taught people to embark on. So you can enjoy both. It's not just like, oh my god, like it's not feeling guilty about all that money in your bank account. Like if you're a good person, you'll do a lot of great things with that money, right? To like bring that in and impact the world. But also like really recognize at the end of the day, how do you want to wake up? How do you want to go to bed? What's your lunchtime like? What kind of surprise messages do you want to be getting on your phone? Who are you sharing those messages with? So I help people really create that identity. And I feel like if you don't, that's when you see these famous people and stars implode when
Mm,
they get to that level. Or like I've, worked with people even out here in the Malibu area who found me after they're like, I sold my company for $300 million and now I'm like sitting in this big house and I feel empty, unfulfilled, like
believe.
not happy, like what's up? And it's like, wow, if you had just learned all these steps along the way, you can have both.
That's a fascinating one. It's
That is,
people
yeah.
people often ask me and they say to me, "Well, when are you gonna retire?" And I'm like, "Never." I wouldn't know what to, do. I need that kind of purpose. You talk about releasing the how. Has there been a moment where you had to take your own advice to let go of control when everything else was screaming at you that you wanted certainty?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Something that I absolutely love about the tools I've created is like not only did I originally design them for my niece, like I didn't wake up one day and I was like, I'm going to be a mindset coach. I noticed through my own trials and tribulations, my own family members that I, had seen go through some challenges, whether it was sports stuff or like I said, my mom with the health stuff, like just my own challenges, like I shared earlier, of my teenage year, understanding my truth. The more you hold tight on over controlling the process or even controlling how it happens or when it happens, then you're absolutely not in trust. On the highest level of my House of Manifesting tool, after I teach people how to become happier and be in flow, and then how to be confident and really understand how to empower yourself to make decisions, is the energy of trust. And in the energy of trust, you are learning how to release the how, release your control of the paths, loosen the grip on when and how. And then in that energy, you attract more because now the paths, the conversations, you can really start to trust in your own judgment and your own little nudges, your own choices, even if they don't make sense. So, it's really an alignment to trust, which is the highest level of self love.
So, can you share a time when you failed to follow your own mindset principles, and what did you learn about being a human through that?
I mean, like I said, it's a process every day because every single time I like have thought about like leveling up or, I'm hit with the same versions of myself, but at a deeper level. So like I'll spin into doubt, overwhelm, stress, like wanting to hyper control the process. Anytime I'm met sometimes with that feeling of uncertainty and I like have that process now that I'm like, oh, I'm scared. Okay, this is the old reference point that's coming up right now. Like, I see it, I own it. So, there's a process that sometimes happens on an everyday, like the moment you see something outside of you that feels like uncomfortable and is lighting up some kind of negative inside of you. To me, it's like this constant pivot of knowing. I just did a retreat the last 2 days where I taught people this process where I'm just like, I was standing at a property in Malibu and I'm like, there's the mountains, right? They always exist. Those are like your hard climb moments. There's the ocean. It's vast and full of love and like right in front of you. And like there's infinite paths to like your island out there that's full of all the stuff you want. At any given moment, like sometimes for me in a day, like I see that duality of like, well, that's misaligned, that's aligned. And if I can stay in happiness, which is like neutral, calm, relaxed, not excited, but just very calm and powerful and relaxed throughout the day, I see that like juxtaposition throughout the day. And I can see the old me that used to like spin into the negative or want to fix or hyper control it. And I could see the version of me that's very aligned to this infinite thing. So I think that like it's constant. It's constant. Like, I even as I learned through all this process, like it's never to be like, I'm done. And I'm very
Mm,
transparent with my whole community, which is global. I've been on Netflix and shows and all kinds of stuff over the years. And, I have a global audience of thousands and thousands of people that I get to coach and I'm real with them. I'm like, you guys, this is like what I'm flipping today. Like I have a call tonight on Zoom and I'm like, I can't wait to teach. Like there's still triggers that'll pop up of old stuff or things you're releasing. And if you have tools of the tool belt, you're always doing it. So I would, just to be fully transparent, it's not something you're ever done with, but there's definitely times. I mean, when I moved here to California, like I just, I really had to lock in. I, there was no reason, like logically, to move here. Like my husband and I were running like gyms in Denver, Colorado. We were on the news like all the time on Fox and NBC, ABC. Like we were at the top of our game in Colorado. And yet, like, I knew in my heart, whenever I'd come to California on vacation, there was something about this, like, being like a smaller fish in a bigger sea out here than like feeling like in Denver. I felt like I like outgrew my shell, I guess. I was like, if you're a hermit crab, you like, I need a new shell. I really needed to use the tools at that time because we have 3 boys. It's like, do we just up and move, to a different city? And if I didn't flex my tools and mindset every single day, it's really difficult and challenging to take a bigger leap. Right. And a lot of people don't take those big leaps in life because they're like, it's more comfortable to just stay where you are, even if you've outgrown it. And so, that was a time if, I was just going to pull one of something more recent that I was just like, I came out here to California. There were the jacaranda purple trees that were like, all over the place. And now I know we're visual here. And so you can see the purple trees in my office.
Yeah.
but there were purple trees here in California. And I knew in my heart I needed to not make the move logical because it was beyond logic. And that's really the place that I want to teach people how to go to. Again, not just A to B, A to B. I'm like, what's your point Z? Where's ultra mega success in your identity, in your head, in your vision of yourself? And there was something out here in the swirl of negative and positive and all the craziness in California, that my husband and I talk about all the time because he does not like it out here. And I'm like a beach girl and I love it out here, but whatever, we'll figure that piece out. But there was a calling in my heart and I listened to that. Like I listened to the intuition in my heart that was like, move here. And so I started telling people in Denver, like, I'm moving to California. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, there's purple trees there. And they're like, this woman's nuts. And I'm like, I know if I have to make it logical, I'll limit myself. If I'm like, but if this, then that, and California is going to give me that platform, and I'll get on shows. And I just have this vision of like who I became, which I became this version of me. And I could see it happening out here. So that was a challenging time because we literally left Denver and put our stuff in storage and didn't even know like 2 months later where our kids would go to school or anything. And then a house popped up and we ended up in Malibu. And that was not even on my site. I just wanted to be near the beach and palm trees. So I've definitely gone through bigger flexes where I've had to really flex the mindset to like, how do you step into a path when the path doesn't exist yet?
sure. Okay. So I want to go back to what you've talked about a little bit throughout this episode here, and it was about your teenage self. And that maybe not being a time where you knew who you were or knew had your house of manifesting in order at least. If you could hand that younger self maybe one sentence from your current philosophy, what would it be?
Trust yourself. The mantra I teach like is built off of what I would tell my 14 to 19-year-old self. I've built an entire company around it because that version of me felt very weak, powerless, and out of control. And then wanted to hyper control like people's behaviors and stuff outside of me to feel better. And so, my mantra that I start all my lessons with, which is I trust in myself, I trust in the process. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be in this moment. Stuck is just a feeling was originally designed for that former version of me. And so I not only tell that version of me every single day, I've built an entire architecture, like for reals, of tools and tool belts that would have really helped, myself back then. And now that I'm many decades and years later and using these tools, like now I recognize, like, well, of course, in those years, I was challenged because, again, that helped me create all this, and become who I was meant to become. I started coaching my niece when she was 12. She's now 23 and a multimillionaire and running her own business and all this stuff. And I was like, had I not, worked through those things for my teenage years, how could I have given her those sets of tools? And when I built those tools originally for her, I had no idea, like, at that time that I was becoming a mindset coach. I got calls every week saying, we need an Aunt Laura. We need an Aunt Laura. Like, we see Livvy, like, she's taking off. She's going to Olympic Training Center. This is happening. That's happening. And I started getting all these calls from parents saying, like, can you start coaching my kid? Can you start coaching my kid? So I just kept packaging these tools over all these years. And I became Aunt Laura, the mindset coach. And, I stepped into my purpose. Like, here I was thinking that I was helping my niece. My husband was opening our gyms. I was seeing people come in, for physical transformations. I was working with Livvy and I was like, these are tools I needed. I could see you need them. Like, and I just started working with her because her mom, who's my sister, like we work together. We build all this content together for strong, confident living. She wouldn't listen to her mom because the mom daughter dynamic, especially in the teenage years, is very different, right? So she's like, talk to Aunt Laura. And then she'd like tell me what to, she was going through and we would collab on curriculum. And, we're teachers at heart, we're educators. My mom's a
Yeah.
teacher, we're teachers. So yeah, it all kind of like just came full circle, but it really did come from what I absolutely needed in that age bracket. And there's nothing more fulfilling than teaching that like group of, young adults now. When I speak to that age market, I know my 104-year-old self that I converse with and connect with a lot. I actually have like a little white wig over there on my dresser, on my desk, because I really know that that market will be what I'm most famous for decades from now. Like all my reach for the younger demographic is really going to be very impactful.
So I guess along those lines slightly, but in parallel, we live in a world that's obsessed with output and image. And, I really feel for a lot of these younger adults and younger kids because we didn't have Instagram and we didn't
Yeah.
have all of these things that we have now that really puts you out in the forefront maybe before you're ready for something like that, mentally and otherwise, right? So how do you personally stay grounded when social media rewards the opposite? And how do you coach or train folks kind of out of that mentality?
Sure. Well, the moment you're making your likes or follows, and the moment you're doing something for that reason, you're not really serving the audience. You're actually doing it to get something for yourself. And, so if you're measuring yourself by the number of likes you're getting, it's really to feel better about a lack you're feeling inside yourself. So a lot of the tools that I've built, from vision board content to self-worth. I have a success pie tool, like teaches people, for example, my success pie, I teach people how to draw a pie with 8 slices and maybe your likes and follows and number of followers you have. It's just like one of 8 ways that you measure success. And if you only measure success one dimensionally, whether it's the money in your bank account, the number on a scale, how many likes and follows, how pretty that picture looks, or however many people are enjoying that, content you're putting out, you're really like, again, you're limiting yourself. You're in the A to B. You're not in this like ultra mega success. Success is multidimensional way at all. So when people are only measuring social media and likes, again, it's like when I put out content personally, like in terms of my own, I'm like, whether one person shows up and likes this or 1,000, do I like it? Am I happy with what I'm putting out there? Would I want to read my own messages? Would I want to hear my own video? And if I would, then you gotta, it's not selfish to enjoy basically like the work you're putting out. If you do it for you, even when I first started doing a retreat, I'm like, I want to step out of my house, see the ocean, and see like a group of people outside this table on my property. Like, I want to be part of that. Who's going to be the ones that magnetically align to that and want to be there, clinking glasses with me? But it's not like I need to sell someone or get these likes. So I really teach people from the beginning success is multidimensional. And it's interesting because how things look like is like, do you like it? So sometimes, like, even in like getting your photos or like your Instagram, like the way you like it, it's like, but did you do that for you or did you do that for everybody else? So if you're editing a picture or whatever, like, is it because of something you're feeling uncomfortable in yourself or because you feel like this aligns to the truest vision in your heart? Well, like, again, at the end of the day, put that in a vacuum. And if you like it, then forget what everyone else says. Forget what everybody else says because they're not there's always going to be people who are looking to measure you up, to tell you what you're doing is right or wrong.
I love that 8 slices of the pie piece. I think that's really, great advice. So, let's just think about someone listening who feels like they're actually doing all the right things, yet they still feel empty. What's the inner conversation that they need to start having with themselves?
They need to snack on happy. So happiness is one of my greatest tools. And just like you'd make a workout plan to get healthy and you'd make a nutritional plan to stay fit in your body. If you don't have a happiness plan and you're feeling ick and blah or like not inspired, then you're not in touch with your own joy. And your own happiness is very neutral. It is calm. It is like it's a conscious awareness focus on what puts a gentle smile to your face. And that's always where I have people start because I exude happiness. Like, I have a lot of energy because I practice happy. Like, my life depends on it. So wherever I walk into a room, like it's a protective energy. Like, people can really, again, feel my light because I practice happiness. I can like stand in a room, even if something ick is going on over there and be like, but it's, I hear the birds chirping outside. Like, I have trained myself and trained even elite athletes. Like, walk in, you see the judges there, but you're thinking about your favorite dog biscuit, or you're stepping onto a balance beam and you see those audience, they want you to fall down, but you're imagining like the mac and cheese you're going to eat for dinner. Like, happiness is that spark that keeps you in flow and keeps you out of living life in that meh or like blah feeling of, that it's just not feeling light. And then I teach people how to expand it, how to put it in motion, how to have fun, how to have happiness with others. Because when you make, a cake by yourself, that's one thing, but sharing that cake or baking that cake with your child or, eating it together, like happiness when shared becomes exponential. So I have great lessons and again, tools. Like, I literally teach people take out a piece of paper. I did this with the Pepperdine University students last night. I'm like, take out a piece of paper, like write my happy list and put 10 things for 10 days, 100 things on your list. Practical. You could keep it on your phone and then you could look around it as you are driving in your car. You're stuck in traffic, but you're like, but there's my roses, on that building. So you're like seeking happiness and it's redirecting your focus throughout the day. And that's why I call it snack on happy because you're chomping, you're eating joy the same way you would eat or plan for a healthy snack. You're intentionally getting happy. I suggest 6 times a day for 2 minutes, like, no, 2 seconds, 1, 2. That you're looking at your happy list, you're finding something around planet Earth that matches it, and you're like re-syncing yourself with that. That's like it's a little bit of a spark, but it's very calm. And it's again, it's a very protective energy of
Yeah, I'm not sure who I stole it from, but I've stopped asking my wife, "Did you have a good day?" I've started asking her, "What made you smile today?"
yes.
It's quite interesting. I did steal that from someone.
Uh,
Well, I stole it from online, and it's interesting the different reaction, and it was funny, the first time I did it, she went, "I read that today as well." So we'd obviously got
Same, yeah,
the
same
same
article.
feed that's going on. Okay, so if you lost everything you've built, you had to rebuild only with your mindset tools, what's the only one I want, what's the very first step you take tomorrow morning?
I'd still I'd lean into my flip it. I would just flip any negative to any positive, knowing that every feeling exists inside me. which ones do I choose to activate and practice today?
Yeah, I do love that flip it idea. I'm gonna borrow that one.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, for every
Yeah,
negative, there's a positive. It's like
yeah,
Newton's, like for every action,
it's a
there's a
great
Yeah.
it's a great idea.
So, what does a strong, confident life look like to you now? I'm sure the definition's evolved.
Yeah, I mean, to me, strong, confident living, it actually was born out of our tagline at our gym. Like, our tagline was strong, confident people. And my husband, Scott, and I, like, went on our first vacation, like, post three kids, like, years and years ago. And we are like, let's make it like a lifestyle brand. Let's do strong, confident living. Like, let's become the version of ourselves that are strong and confident. Let's be the example of what strength and confidence means to us on any given day. And so strength to me is mentally strong, as well as emotionally strong, as well as physically strong. But to me, if you're mentally and emotionally strong, you're probably going to be physically strong and fit, right? Because you know how important that alignment is to you and the physical expression of who you are. So strength to me, that's ever evolving, emotional and mental strength and physical strength. Confidence is like I don't need to know all the answers to know where I want to be going at all times. you know, it's fun because I don't know, in a couple of years after our son, like when my husband and I are empty nesters, like we don't know where we're going to be. Like, are we going to stay here in California? Like, he's already looking at properties somewhere else. And so confidence evolves because it's like, I don't need to know, like, I want to live somewhere safe and secure. Like, I want to wake up happy with birds chirping. Like, you always have a knowing and a confidence and a trust inside of you. And it is ever evolving because your vision is ever evolving. Like I've checked off many things that I've manifested, the beach house with the ocean view, all different things that like I've been able to manifest over the years because I was just like, I don't know, but I know. Like I don't know how, but I know this is going to happen. And I felt it so strongly despite like people not believing in me and my vision. So it was like, like it's what I teach now. It's like you don't have to know to still trust that there are very integral pieces that you do know. So to me, it's knowing that, like what's most true to your heart, what's most important to you through each decade. How are you leading your life? I have a vision for every decade of my life that's clear all the way to my 104-year-old self. So it's just like
That's
I
awesome.
pluck into that one like a great grandma. I'm Italian, so it's this very long table with my Sunday dinners and, a large family and just, so it's evolving.
Yeah, I love that. So, thank you so much for your time
Yeah,
today.
great, Laura.
Yeah, we always like to wrap up with just one more question, though. It's at the very core of our podcast. And what our podcast tries to embody is strength, kindness, and perspective. And so, is there someone in your life that embodies these values, someone who has deeply influenced or inspired your journey that you'd like to give a shout out to today?
I mean, I just along the lines of what I was just talking about, I'm gonna give a shout out to my 104-year-old self. That 104-year-old self that like is the most wise, like talk about perspective and strength and kindness. That version of myself has empowered me now through the toughest, like darkest situations where I could not see my way out. And it is so unbelievably empowering because if you can connect to that version of you, like deeply in your heart, and you feel that version of you can see that version of you in other people you admire. Like I see facets of that in my husband. I see facets of that in my mom. I see facets of that in my children, in my sisters, like in my friendships, in my communities, because the more like you are in alignment to you and who you truly are, those people like all reflect pieces of you. And so I really connect very, very deeply on the daily to that 104-year-old Laura St. John. And then I go about my day like admiring those qualities and characteristics in people that I see in front of me, total strangers. It's just a really fun reflection back. I really feel like, it's a powerful way to live.